He saved her from a speeding taxi in the rain, but the baby she's carrying is his.
Welcome back to Hub Stories. I've truly missed you all. Thank you so much for staying with me. Your love and support mean everything. If you're enjoying this story, make sure to hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Your support helps us bring even more emotional, powerful, and life-changing stories. And trust me, you definitely don't want to miss what's coming next. Now let's continue the story.
Thunder cracked like a whip across the midnight sky, shattering the fragile peace of New York City's bustling streets. Rain poured down in relentless sheets, turning the sidewalks into treacherous rivers. In the heart of Manhattan, where skyscrapers pierced the clouds like arrogant giants, a lone figure stumbled through the downpour. Elara Thompson, a 28-year-old black woman with glowing caramel skin and weary eyes, clutched her swollen belly as she hurried toward the subway. 7 months pregnant, she was exhausted from a double shift at the diner. Her cheap umbrella long since flipped inside out by the wind. Suddenly tires screeched. A reckless taxi swerved on the slick road, barreling straight toward her. Time slowed. Elara froze, her heart pounding like a drum in her chest. "No!" she whispered, shielding her unborn child with trembling hands. In that split second, a strong arm yanked her back from the brink. She tumbled into a solid chest, safe but breathless. The taxi splashed past, horn blaring. Looking up, Elara met the piercing blue eyes of a stranger. A tall, impeccably dressed man with chiseled features and dark hair matted by the rain. "Are you okay?" he demanded, his voice deep and commanding, laced with genuine concern. She nodded, too stunned to speak. Little did she know, this billionaire savior, Alexander Voss, had just pulled her from death's grasp, unaware that the life growing inside her was his own flesh and blood. Alexander Voss, the 35-year-old CEO of Voss Tech, one of the world's leading AI companies, wasn't supposed to be there. He'd been driving his sleek black Tesla home from a late-night board meeting, his mind racing with algorithms and acquisitions, but fate had other plans. As he helped Elara to her feet, he noticed her pregnancy, her soaked clothes clinging to her frame. "You need to get out of this storm," he said firmly. "Let me take you to the hospital just to be sure." Elara hesitated. She was no stranger to hardship. Raised in a tough Brooklyn neighborhood, she'd fought for every scrap of success as an aspiring painter. Trusting a stranger, especially one who screamed wealth and power, wasn't her style. But the baby kicked inside her, a reminder of her priorities. "Okay," she murmured. "Thank you." As they drove through the rain-slicked streets, Alexander glanced at her. She was beautiful even in her distress, her full lips, expressive brown eyes, and the quiet strength in her posture. Something about her felt familiar, like a half-remembered dream. But he pushed it aside. He was just doing the right thing. Or so he thought. At the hospital, doctors confirmed she and the baby were fine, just shaken. Alexander insisted on paying the bill, waving off her protests. "It's nothing," he said with a rare smile. "Take care of yourself. And the little one." Elara watched him leave, her heart fluttering inexplicably. Who was this man? And why did his touch linger on her skin like a promise? The next morning, sunlight filtered through the cracks in Elara's tiny apartment blinds, casting golden stripes on her worn wooden floor. She sat at her kitchen table, sipping herbal tea, her hand resting on her belly. The events of last night replayed in her mind. The near miss, the rescue, those intense blue eyes. She shivered, not from cold but from a strange sense of déjà vu. Elara's life hadn't always been this precarious. Born to a single mother who worked 3 jobs, she'd clawed her way through art school on scholarships and sheer determination. Her paintings, vibrant, depictions of urban life and black resilience, had shown promise, but a string of bad luck, including a gallery that folded, left her waiting tables to make ends meet. And then there was the pregnancy. It started 7 months ago. At her upscale charity gala, she'd crashed to network. Dressed in her best thrift store find, she'd felt out of place among the glittering elite. That's when she met him, a charming stranger with a magnetic smile. They talked for hours about art, dreams, and the stars. One thing led to another, a stolen kiss, a night of passion in a luxurious hotel suite. In the morning, he was gone, leaving only a note. "Last night was unforgettable. She never knew his full name, never saw him again. Until last night. No, it couldn't be. The man from the gala had been playful, almost boyish. Her rescuer was polished, intense. But those eyes... Could it be? Meanwhile, across town in his penthouse overlooking Central Park, Alexander paced his marble-floored living room. He'd barely slept, haunted by the woman's face, Ilara. The name she'd given at the hospital stuck with him. Why did she seem so familiar? He poured himself a coffee, staring out at the city that had made him a billionaire. Orphaned young, he'd built Vostech from a garage startup into an empire, revolutionizing AI for healthcare and security. But success came at a cost. Loneliness, endless work, no time for relationships. Shaking off the thoughts, he dove into his day, meetings, calls, innovations. Yet by evening, curiosity won. He had his assistant run a discreet background check. Ilara Thompson, artist, waitress, no criminal record, pregnant, due in 2 months, single. A pang hit him, empathy, or something deeper. He decided to check on her just once. Armed with her address from the hospital form, he drove to Brooklyn. Ilara opened the door to find him standing there, holding a bouquet of wildflowers and a bag of groceries. "I wanted to make sure you're all right," he said awkwardly. Her eyes widened. "You? How did you find me?" "Hospital records," he admitted. "I'm Alexander Voss. Please let me help." "It's the least I can do." Reluctantly, she let him in. As they talked, sharing tea on her threadbare couch, fragments of that gala night flickered in both their minds. But neither connected the dots yet. Days turned into a tentative routine. Alexander found excuses to visit, delivering meals, fixing her leaky faucet, even driving her to prenatal checkups. At first, Ilara resisted. "I don't need charity," she'd snap, her pride as fierce as her spirit. But his persistence wore her down. He wasn't pushy. He was kind, listening to her stories of growing up in the projects, her passion for painting. One afternoon, in her cramped studio apartment, she showed him her canvases. Bold strokes of color captured the soul of the city, children, playing in fire hydrant sprays, elders sharing wisdom on stoops. "These are incredible," Alexander breathed, genuinely awed. "Why aren't you famous?" "Life gets in the way," she said softly, rubbing her belly. The baby was active today, kicking like a little drummer. He noticed her discomfort. "May I?" he asked, gesturing to her stomach. She nodded, and as his hand touched her, a jolt passed between them. The baby kicked again, hard. Alexander's eyes widened. "Strong one," he murmured, a rare vulnerability cracking his billionaire facade. In that moment, Ilara felt a warmth she hadn't known since her mother passed. But doubts lingered. What did a man like him want with her? Was it pity? Alexander, too, was conflicted. Helping Ilara stirred something in him, a desire for connection he'd long suppressed. His days were filled with boardrooms, but evenings with her brought laughter, real talk. He learned about her fears, raising a child alone, financial struggles. In return, he shared glimpses of his past, losing his parents in a car crash at 18, building an empire to fill the void. One night, over homemade pasta, her specialty, he confessed, "I've never let anyone in like this. You're different." Ilara's heart raced. "Why me?" "Because you see me, not the money." As rain pattered against the window, echoing their first meeting, they leaned closer. But just as lips nearly met, Ilara pulled back. "I can't, not with everything." He respected her space, but the air crackled with unspoken longing. As weeks passed, Ilara's pregnancy advanced, her belly rounding like a full moon. Alexander became a fixture in her life, helping furnish a nursery in her apartment with tasteful, not extravagant items. He even attended a Lamaze class with her, awkwardly practicing breathing techniques amid giggling couples. But beneath the budding romance, secrets simmered. Ilara often wondered about the father of her child, that mysterious A from the gala. She'd tried searching online once, but with only a first initial, it was hopeless. Little did she know, Alexander had attended that same gala, drowning his sorrows after a brutal business deal. That night he'd been uncharacteristically reckless, seeking solace in a beautiful stranger's arms. One evening, while sorting through old photos for a scrapbook, Ilara pulled out a ticket stub from the gala. "What's that?" Alexander asked, glancing over. Just a memory, she said evasively. He froze. The date, the venue, it matched his own hazy recollection. Were you there? He probed gently. She nodded. Yeah, trying to network. Met someone special, but he vanished. Alexander's pulse quickened. Could it be? No, impossible. He'd been careful, or so he thought. But doubt planted its seed. Meanwhile, external pressures mounted. Alexander's business rivals sniffed vulnerability. A tabloid reporter, sensing a story, began tailing him. Billionaire's secret charity case. The headlines threatened. Ilara faced her own storms. Her boss at the diner cut her hours, claiming she was too slow. Bills piled up. In a moment of desperation, she confided in her best friend, Maya. He's amazing. But what if it's all temporary? Maya hugged her. Girl, follow your heart, but protect it too. That night, as Alexander held Ilara, during a thunderstorm, much like their first encounter, she whispered, Thank you for saving us. Us? He echoed, realizing how deeply he cared for her and the unborn child. Tensions escalated when Alexander's ex-fiancée, Victoria, a socialite with ice in her veins, re-entered the picture. She'd left him years ago for a richer man, but now, seeing his success, she wanted back in. Spotting him with Ilara at a park, she confronted him later at his office. Who's the pregnant girl, Alex? Slumming it? She sneered. None of your business, he growled. Ilara's real. Unlike you, Victoria laughed. Real? She's using you, wake up. Her words wormed into his mind, fueling insecurities. Was Ilara only with him for support? He pushed the thought away, but it lingered. Ilara, sensing his distance, confronted him. What's wrong? Nothing, he lied, but his eyes betrayed him. Hurt, she retreated. If you don't trust me, this won't work. That night, alone in her apartment, tears flowed. The baby seemed to sense her pain, kicking restlessly. It's just you and me, little one, she sobbed. Alexander, pacing his penthouse, realized his mistake. He drove through the night to apologize, flowers in hand again. I'm sorry. I'm scared of losing you. She let him in, their embrace electric, as they kissed for the first time since, well, perhaps ever knowingly, fireworks exploded in their souls. But fate had more twists in store. With the due date approaching, Alexander whisked Ilara away for a weekend at his Hamptons beach house, a rare escape from the city grind. The ocean waves crashed like applause as they walked hand in hand on the sand. Under a blanket of stars, Ilara opened up about her pregnancy. The father. It was a one-night thing. I don't even know his last name. Just A. Alexander stopped cold. A as in Alexander? She laughed nervously. Coincidence, right? But pieces clicked for him. The gala date matched her conception timeline, her description of the man. Tall, blue eyes, charming. It was him. Heart racing, he confessed. Ilara. That was me. I was at that gala. I left the note. Her world spun. Shock, anger, joy collided. You? Why didn't you say anything? I didn't remember at first. It was a blur. But now, the baby is mine. Tears streamed down her face. Yes, our child. They held each other, emotions raw. Fear of the unknown mixed with overwhelming love. I'll be there, he promised. For both of you. Back in the city, they navigated the revelation. DNA tests confirmed it, but more importantly, their bond deepened. Alexander vowed to be a father, not just a savior. News of their relationship leaked, courtesy of Victoria's scheming. Tabloids exploded, Billionaire's baby mama drama. Ilara faced online hate, racist trolls questioning her worth, calling her a gold digger. At a prenatal appointment, she broke down. They say I'm not good enough for you. Alexander pulled her close. They're wrong. You're everything. But internally, he battled his own demons. Fatherhood terrified him. What if he failed like his parents? Absence had scarred him. One night, after a heated argument over moving to his penthouse, Ilara stormed out. I need space. He let her go, regretting it instantly. Hours later, a call came. Ilara was in labor early. Rushing to the hospital, heart in throat, Alexander prayed. This was his chance to prove his love. The hospital room echoed with Ilara's cries as contractions gripped her. Alexander held her hand, coaching her through the pain. You're strong, my love. You've got this. After hours of labor, their son arrived, a beautiful boy with Ilara's warm skin tone and Alexander's blue eyes. They named him Kai, meaning sea in Hawaiian, symbolizing their beach revelation. Holding Kai, Alexander wept. He's perfect. We're a family. Ilara smiled through exhaustion. We are. But postpartum challenges loomed. Ilara struggled with baby blues, Alexander with balancing work and fatherhood. Victoria lurked, plotting to expose secrets. Kai's cries filled the penthouse, now their home. Clara adjusted to luxury, but missed her independence. I feel like a kept woman, she admitted. Alexander hired help but encouraged her art. Paint? Ilara, your dreams matter. One day he surprised her with a gallery show. Her paintings sold out, boosting her confidence. Yet jealousy flared when Victoria sent anonymous texts. He's cheating. Ilara confronted him, trust fracturing. It's lies, he insisted, showing proof. Forgiven, they grew stronger, but the world watched. Victoria's plot climaxed. She leaked falsified documents claiming Alexander had paid Ilara off. Media frenzy ensued. At a press conference, Alexander defended them. Ilara is my partner, Kai my son. This is love, not scandal. Ilara stood by him, her voice steady. We're real and unbreakable. Victoria was exposed, her schemes crumbling. Justice served. The city outside their penthouse windows had finally quieted. The tabloids had moved on to fresher scandals. Victoria's name was toxic in every circle that once kissed her ring. And the racist trolls had grown bored when no new drama fed them. For the first time in months, Alexander, Ilara, and baby Kai woke up to silence instead of chaos. But silence can be its own kind of loud. Ilara stood in the nursery at 3 a.m., rocking Kai back to sleep after a nightmare. Moonlight spilled across the crib. Alexander had built with his own hands. No designer, no assistant, just him in jeans and sawdust, swearing under his breath when the instructions didn't make sense. She watched her son's tiny chest rise and fall, his little fist curled around her finger, and felt the weight of everything they had survived. She was still afraid sometimes. Afraid that one day Alexander would wake up and realize he'd traded a life of private, jets and power breakfasts for 3 a.m. feedings and baby vomit on cashmere. Afraid that the world would never fully accept a black artist from the projects as the wife of a tech titan. Afraid that the love burning between them was too bright to last. Alexander found her there, barefoot in one of his old Harvard t-shirts that now stretched over her post-baby curves. He didn't speak at first. He simply wrapped his arms around her from behind, resting his chin on her shoulder, both of them staring down at their sleeping miracle. I thought I lost you both, he whispered into the dark. It wasn't the first time he'd said it, and it wouldn't be the last. The memory of Ilara in premature labor, of the monitors beeping too fast, of the doctor's grim face, it still woke him in cold sweats. You didn't, Ilara answered, voice thick. We're still here. We're still fighting. He turned her gently, cupping her face. Then marry me. She laughed through sudden tears. You already asked, crazy man. On the beach. With the ring and everything. I'm asking again. His blue eyes were fierce in the moonlight. Every day I'm going to ask until you stop looking scared that this is temporary. Marry me tomorrow, next week, next year, whenever you're ready. Just know I'm never leaving. Ilara searched his face and saw the truth. The billionaire who once commanded boardrooms was begging for her, for them. Yes, she breathed. 1,000 times yes. The wedding was small, intimate, nothing like the society spectacle the gossip sites predicted. They held it in the Hamptons house, where the truth first came out. Barefoot on the sand at golden hour, Maya was maid of honor. Alexander's oldest engineer, the one who'd been with him since the garage days, stood as best man. Kai, now 8 months old, wore a tiny linen suit and stole the show by giggling through the vows. Clara walked down an aisle of scattered rose petals, wearing a simple silk gown that hugged. Her new motherhood curves like water. When Alexander saw her, he forgot how to breathe. The officiant had to clear his throat twice before he could say, I do. Later, under strings of fairy lights, they danced to an old-school R&B song Ilara's mother used to play. Alexander held her close, one hand on the small of her back, the other cradling Kai against his chest. "I used to think success was a number," he murmured into her hair. "Revenue, users, market share. Turns out success is this: falling asleep with your heartbeat under my cheek and our son's breath on my neck." Ilara's art came roaring back to life. The trauma, the love, the fight, it all poured onto canvas. Her first post-baby collection, titled Resilience, sold out in 43 minutes. Little Black and Brown. Girls from her old neighborhood started showing up at her studio with sketchbooks wide-eyed, asking if dreams could really come true. "They can," she told each one, kneeling to their level. "But you have to protect your heart and keep painting through the storm." Alexander stepped back from the spotlight. He turned down 3 magazine covers so he could be home for bath time. He learned how to braid Kai's curls, badly at first, then better. He funded scholarships for single mothers in the arts and named the foundation after Ilara's late mother. One night, years later, they lay on the rooftop of the penthouse watching fireworks over the Hudson. Kai, now 4, was asleep on a blanket of pillows between them. "Do you ever regret it?" Ilara asked softly. "The night you stopped your car in the rain?" Alexander turned to her, tracing the line of her cheek like he still couldn't believe she was real. "That night didn't just save you," he said. "It saved me. I was alive before, but I wasn't living. You and Kai, you're my whole world." Ilara smiled, tears sparkling brighter than the fireworks. "And you're ours." In the quiet that followed, the city sparkling below them like a promise kept, they knew the truth. Some rescues aren't one moment in the rain. Some rescues are a lifetime of choosing each other, again and again. Until happily ever after isn't a fairy tale, it's just Tuesday night, with the people you love most breathing beside you. 5 years slipped by like pages in a well-loved book. Kai Alexander Voss turned 5 on a warm September afternoon, the kind of day where the New York sky looks painted in watercolor blues. The penthouse rooftop had been transformed into a wonderland of balloons the color of sunsets and a hand-built cardboard castle, taller than Alexander himself. Children from Kai's preschool, some from Park Avenue, some from the same Brooklyn block Ilara once called home, ran wild, shrieking with joy as superheroes and princesses collided in joyful chaos. Ilara stood at the edge of the party in a flowing yellow sundress, watching her son with eyes that still sometimes filled with disbelief. Kai had her warm brown skin, her wide smile, and a mop of curls that refused to be tamed. But when he laughed, head thrown back, whole body shaking, it was Alexander's laugh, the perfect blend of both worlds. Alexander appeared beside her, slipping an arm around her waist. He'd traded $1,000 suits for a simple white linen shirt rolled to the elbows, a streak of blue frosting on his cheek from Kai's birthday smash cake. He looked younger than the man she'd met in the rain all those years ago. Like fatherhood and love had shaved a decade off his soul. "He asked me this morning if the stars are real," Alexander said, voice soft with wonder. "I told him yes. Then he asked if you painted them. I said you paint everything beautiful in his world." Ilara laughed, resting her head on his shoulder. "He's going to be trouble with that charm. Our kind of trouble." Below them the city hummed, honking taxis. Distant sirens, the heartbeat of a place that once tried to break them both. Now it felt like home in a way neither of them had expected. Ilara's murals brightened subway stations and hospital walls. Alexander's company had launched an AI program that detected early pre-eclampsia in underserved communities. Inspired by the night, Kai decided to arrive early. Their scars had become their superpowers. Later, when the sun dipped low and the last child had been picked up, the 3 of them sat on the rooftop floor, sharing the leftover cake with their fingers. Kai, sticky and exhausted, crawled into Ilara's lap and promptly fell asleep against her chest. Alexander pulled them both into his arms, surrounding his entire universe in one embrace. "Do you remember the first time you held him?" Ilara whispered. Alexander nodded against her hair. "I was terrified I'd break him, or worse, that I'd turn out like every absent rich father I swore I'd never be." "You didn't," she said simply. "You show up. Every day, that's the whole magic." He pressed a kiss to Kai's curls, then to Ilara's temple. "That night in the storm, I thought I was the one doing the saving, Turns out you both saved me from a life that looked perfect but felt empty. Ilara tilted her face up to meet his eyes, the same piercing blue that once pulled her from the path of a taxi. And you gave us a love story people write books about. We're still writing it, he murmured. Above them the first star appeared, bright, defiant, eternal. Kai stirred in his sleep, mumbling, "Love you forever. Mommy, love you forever, Daddy." Ilara and Alexander smiled through sudden tears. Forever, they realized, wasn't a promise they made once under fairy lights. It was their sticky fingers, tired eyes, quiet rooftops, and the unbreakable certainty that no matter what storms came next, they would face them together. And somewhere in the city below, thunder rumbled softly, not a warning this time, but a reminder. Some rescues happen in a single heartbeat. The best ones last a lifetime.